So today we're going to look at Winnie the Pooh Part 3. Just a reminder, this is from the first Winnie the Pooh book, which came out in 1926, which is a very long time ago. But it's where Winnie the Pooh got started and how he got famous in the very beginning, because these stories are really cute and fun. And in the Winnie the Pooh book, we're looking at chapter 1. Each chapter is a different little story about Winnie the Pooh and his friends. And this story is about Pooh and Christopher Robin. Christopher Robin is the boy. And as we said before, this story is the father telling the story to Christopher Robin. So in the story, if you hear you, it's the father talking to Christopher Robin. Okay? So this is part 3, and we're going to finish the chapter together. And to start, what we can do is we can read together what we've already seen in the story. And that will help you remember what's happening and help you review what we learned before. Okay? So this is Winnie the Pooh by A. Milne. Chapter 1, in which we are introduced to Winnie the Pooh and some bees, and the stories begin. Here is Edward Bear, coming downstairs now, bump, 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 on the back of his head, behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs. But sometimes he feels that there really is another way. If only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels that perhaps there isn't. Anyhow, here he is at the bottom and ready to be introduced to you. Winnie the Pooh. When I first heard his name, I said, just as you are going to say, but I thought he was a boy. So did I, said Christopher Robin. Then why can't you... Then you can't call him Winnie? I don't. But you said, he's Winnie the Pooh. Don't you know what the means? Ah, yes, now I do, I said quickly. And I hope you do too, because it is all the explanation you are going to get. Sometimes Winnie the Pooh likes a game of some sort when he comes downstairs, and sometimes he likes to sit quietly in front of the fire and listen to a story. This evening... What about a story? Said Christopher Robin. What about a story? I said. Could you very sweetly tell Winnie the Pooh one? I suppose I could, I said. What sort of stories does he like? About himself, because he's that sort of bear. Oh, I see. So could you, very sweetly? I'll try, I said. So I tried. Once upon a time, a very long time ago now, about last Friday, Winnie the Pooh lived in a forest all by himself under the name of Sanders. What does under the name mean? Asked Christopher Robin. It means he had the name over the door in gold letters and lived under it. Winnie the Pooh wasn't quite sure, said Christopher Robin. Now I am, said a growly voice. Then I will go on, said I. One day, he was out walking. He came to an open place in the middle of the forest. And in the middle of this place was a large oak tree. And from the top of the tree, there came a loud buzzing noise. Bzzz. Winnie the Pooh sat down at the foot of the tree. put his head between his paws, and began to think. First of all, he said to himself, "That buzzing noise means something. You don't get a buzzing noise like that, just buzzing and buzzing, without its meaning something. If there's a buzzing noise, somebody's making a buzzing noise. And the only reason for making a buzzing noise that I know of is because you're a bee." Then he thought another long time and said, "And the only reason for being a bee that I know of is making honey." And then he got up and said, "And the only reason for making honey is so as I can eat it." So he began to climb the tree. He climbed and he climbed and he climbed. And as he climbed, he sang a little song to himself. It went like this. "Isn't it funny how a bear likes honey? Buzz, buzz, buzz. I wonder why he does." Then he climbed a little further, and a little further, and then just a little further. By that time, he had thought of another song. "It's a very funny thought that, if bears were bees, they'd build their nests at the bottom of trees. And that being so, if the bees were bears, we shouldn't have to climb up all these stairs." He was getting rather tired by this time, so that is why he sang a complaining song. He was nearly there now, and if he just stood on that branch, crack! "Oh, help!" said Pooh, as he dropped 10 feet on the branch below him. Shoo-goom. "If only I hadn't," he said, as he bounced 20 feet onto the next branch. Boing. "You see, what I meant to do," he explained, as he turned head over heels and crashed onto another branch 30 feet below. "What I meant to do. Of course, it was rather," he admitted, as he slithered very quickly through the next 6 branches. "It all comes, I suppose," he decided, as he said goodbye to the last branch. Boing! Spun round 3 times, and flew gracefully into a gorse bush. "It all comes of liking honey so much. Oh, help!" He crawled out of the gorse bush, brushed the prickles from his nose, and began to think again. And the first person he thought of was Christopher Robin. "Was that me?" said Christopher Robin in an awed voice, hardly daring to believe it. "That was you." Christopher Robin said nothing, but his eyes got larger and larger, and his face got pinker and pinker. So Winnie-the-Pooh went round to his friend Christopher Robin, who lived behind a green door in another part of the forest. Oops. "Good morning, Christopher Robin," he said. "Good morning, Winnie-the-Pooh," said you. "I wonder if you've got such a thing as a balloon about you." "A balloon?" "Yes, I just said to myself coming along, I wonder if Christopher Robin has such a thing as a balloon about him. I just said it to myself, thinking of balloons and wondering. "What do you want a balloon for?" you said. Winnie-the-Pooh looked round to see that nobody was listening, put his paw to his mouth, and said in a deep whisper, "Honey." "But you don't get honey with balloons." "I do," said Pooh. Well, it just happened that you had been to a party the day before at the house of your friend Piglet, and you had balloons at the party. You had had a big green balloon, and one of Rabbit's relations had had a big blue one, and had left it behind, being really too young to go to a party at all. And so, you had brought the green one and the blue one home with you. Which one do you like? You asked Pooh. He put his head between his paws and thought very carefully. It's like this, he said. When you go after honey with a balloon, the great thing is not to let the bees know you're coming. Now, if you have a green balloon, they might think you are only part of the tree and not notice you. And if you have a blue balloon, they might think you are only part of the sky and not notice you. And the question is, which is most likely? Wouldn't they notice you underneath the balloon? You asked. They might or they might not, said Winnie-the-Pooh. You can never tell with bees. He thought for a moment and said, I shall try to look like a small black cloud. That will deceive them. Then you had better have the blue balloon, you said, and so it was decided. Well, you both went out with the blue balloon, and you took your gun with you, just in case, as you always did. And Winnie-the-Pooh went to a very muddy place that he knew of, and rolled until he was black all over. And then, when the balloon was blown up as big, and you and Pooh were both holding on to the string, you let go suddenly. And Pooh Bear floated gracefully up into the sky and stayed there, level with the top of the tree and about 20 feet away from it. Hooray! You shouted. Isn't that fine? Shouted Winnie-the-Pooh down to you. What do I look like? You look like a bear holding onto a balloon, you said. Not, said Pooh anxiously, not like a small black cloud in a blue sky? Not very much. Ah, well, perhaps from up here it looks different. And, as I say, you can never tell with bees. There was no wind to blow him nearer to the tree, so there he stayed. He could see the honey, he could smell the honey, but he couldn't quite reach the honey. After a little while, he called down to you. Christopher Robin, he said in a loud whisper. Hello? I think the bees suspect something. What sort of thing? I don't know, but something tells me that they're suspicious. Perhaps they think that you're after their honey. It may be. You can never tell with bees. There was another little silence, and then he called down to you again. Christopher Robin? Yes? Have you an umbrella in your house? I think so. I wish you would bring it out here and walk up and down with it and look up at me every now and then and say, Tut tut, it looks like rain. I think if you did that, it would help the deception which we are practicing on these bees. Well, you laughed to yourself. Silly old bear. But you didn't say it aloud because you were so fond of him. Oh. And you went home for your umbrella. So that's where we are in the story. Winnie-the-Pooh is floating in the sky. He's holding the balloon and he's stuck. He's far away from the honey, and he thinks that the bees suspect something. he thinks the bees know he's trying to steal the honey. So, what happens next? Christopher Robin is going to go home to get an umbrella to try to help Winnie the Pooh trick the bees so that the bees believe Winnie the Pooh is a cloud, right? So, from this blue line, this is our new part of the story, and we'll read each piece and then talk about what it means and talk about some of the vocabulary, okay? Let me take a sip of water and then we'll get started. Okay. Christopher Robin went home to get his umbrella. Now he's coming back. "Oh, there you are," called down Winnie the Pooh, as soon as you got back to the tree. "I was beginning to get anxious. I have discovered that the bees are now definitely suspicious." Okay. So let's go piece by piece. So, "Oh, there you are." There you are is a common phrase that we use when someone shows up and you see them. Whoa, that's really big. I don't want extra large font, maybe medium. Or maybe small, let's see. There you are is kind of like saying, "Oh, you're back. You came back." Oh. So, "Oh, you're back. Oh, you came back. Oh, there you are. There you are." Usually we say it like that. "There you are. Oh, there you are." So someone shows up, you were expecting them, you knew they were coming, and so you can say this, "Oh, there you are." So that means that Christopher Robin came back. So, "Oh, there you are," called down Winnie the Pooh, "as soon as you got back to the tree. I was beginning to get anxious." Now, I think we talked about this word last time, anxious. It's an X, but it sounds like anxious. So, anxious is how you pronounce it. And anxious, I'll put brackets so you know its pronunciation. Anxious means you're worried about something. I was beginning to get anxious. You could also say, "I was beginning to worry," or "I was beginning to get nervous," something like that. Winnie the Pooh says, "I have discovered that the bees are now definitely suspicious." Suspicious. Suspicious means someone thinks something's wrong. They feel like you're trying to trick them. You're trying to lie to them. So they feel suspicious. What are you doing over there? The bees see Winnie the Pooh and they're like, what are you doing? Now, usually we would put a small s on suspicious. This big S is not normal. But the author used a big S to show that it's very important. The bees are definitely suspicious. They really don't trust Winnie the Pooh. Okay? Let's see. And then Christopher Robin says, "Shall I put my umbrella up?" You said. Now remember, shall is kind of like the word should. In American English, in American English, people almost never say shall. So I think people in England will use shall, but in American English, no one says shall. Very rare. So if this were in modern American English, you would say, "Should I put my umbrella up?" Or "Should I open my umbrella?" Okay? But but shall is the same as should. Or usually it's the same as should. Sometimes it's the same as should. Well, sometimes it's the same as will. So be careful. But in American English, we don't use shall. So don't worry about it too much. Okay. Shall I put my umbrella up? You said. Yes, but wait a moment. We must be practical. The important bee to deceive is the queen bee. Can you see which is the queen bee from down there? So Winnie-the-Pooh says, yes, open your umbrella, but wait a moment. We must be practical. Practical means focus on what's important. Okay? So don't worry about our feelings and what we want to do. We want to do what's important and what we should do. That's what it's like to be practical. So we must be practical. Be thoughtful and think of what's the best thing to do. Okay? The important bee to deceive is the queen bee. So Winnie-the-Pooh is saying that we're using the word deceive again. This is kind of a fancy word, but it means to trick someone. He's trying to trick one of the bees. The important bee to trick is the queen bee. You don't need to trick every bee, but you want to trick the queen. So you need to deceive the queen bee. Can you see which is the queen bee from down there? So, can you see which? Here, can you see which bee is the queen bee? So you could have the word bee in here. Can you see which bee is the queen bee? But we don't need it. Can you see which is the queen bee from down there? Down there just means down on the ground. Because remember, Winnie-the-Pooh is up in the sky. Can you see which is the queen bee from down there? No. So Christopher Robin's looking at the bees. No, I don't know which one is the queen. Winnie-the-Pooh says, a pity. Well now, if you walk up and down with your umbrella saying, tut tut, it looks like rain. I shall do what I can by singing a little cloud song, such as a cloud might sing. Go. So, a pity. This is, again, kind of a formal or old way to say something. Now, people would say, oh, too bad. Too bad. So, a pity is a formal way to say, oh, too bad. That's, oh, too bad, so sad. It meaning, I want to find out who the queen is. You can't see. Oh, well, that's sad, but it's okay. Too bad, a pity. Well, now, if you walk up and down with your umbrella, remember, up and down means forward and back, or left and right, okay? It doesn't have to mean actually up, up, and down, down. It could be back and forth. Now, if you walk up and down with your umbrella saying, tut, tut, it looks like rain. We talked about this last time. Tut, tut is, I think, something people in England say. I'm not sure if they still do, but Americans don't say this. It's kind of like saying, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's going to rain. Tut tut, it looks like rain. And then he says, I shall do what I can by singing a little cloud song. Back to what I was saying before. Sometimes shall is like the word should. Here, the word shall is like the word will. I shall do what I can, which means I will do what I can. So he's going to try his best to trick the bees. I shall do what I can by singing a little cloud song. So he's going to try his best, and what he'll do is to sing a cloud song. Well, that's kind of funny. He knows a song about clouds. So singing a cloud song, such as a cloud might sing. So he's going to sing a song like what a cloud sings. Do clouds sing? I don't think so. I think we talked about such as before, which you could think of as something like. So he's going to sing a cloud song, or let's say such as is kind of sort of like what a cloud might sing. Okay? Replace such as with sort of like what. So I'll sing a song sort of like what a cloud might sing. Imagine a cloud singing. He's going to sing that kind of song. So while you walked up and down and wondered if it would rain, Winnie-the-Pooh sang this song. So Christopher Robin is walking up and down, and Winnie-the-Pooh is still in the sky, and he starts to sing his cloud song. What is Winnie-the-Pooh's cloud song? Let's see. Sorry, scroll. How sweet to be a cloud, floating in the blue. Every little cloud always sings aloud. How sweet to be a cloud, floating in the blue. It makes him very proud to be a little cloud. So, how sweet to be a cloud. Here the word sweet is like the word nice. This is something to be careful about, to remember, is here the word how. It's not being used as a question. This is not a question. Sometimes you can use question words to say something is really nice or wonderful. Like, you could use the word how. Let's say I give you a birthday present. You could say, how nice, or how nice of you. It's not a question. It's saying, that was very nice of you. How nice of you. So if you're excited about something, you can use the word how to make a exclamation. Like when you say, wow, that's great. Or if you go to the beach and it's beautiful outside. Wow, the sky is blue, the ocean is comfortable. You could say, what a nice day. So you can use the word what in the same way. It's not a question. You're saying an exclamation. You're saying out loud how happy you feel. So he says, how sweet to be a cloud, meaning, oh, it's so nice to be a cloud, okay? Floating in the blue. Every little cloud always sings aloud. I think we've seen the word aloud before. Christopher Robin was saying, silly little bear, but he didn't say it aloud. Aloud is the same as out loud. To sing aloud means you sing it out. It's not in your mind. You say it out so other people can hear it. Okay? And then Winnie-the-Pooh continues. How sweet to be a cloud, floating in the blue. It makes him very proud to be a little cloud. To be proud is when you feel really good about yourself. You know you're great. You know you did a good job. That's to be proud. It makes him very proud to be a little cloud. So the cloud is happy that he is a cloud. It's great to be a cloud. Okay? So Winnie the Pooh sings his cloud song to try to trick the bees and maybe make the bees less suspicious. They don't think there's a trick happening. But, continue. The bees were still buzzing as suspiciously as ever. Some of them, indeed, left their nests and flew all around the cloud as it began the second verse of this song. And one bee sat down on the nose of the cloud for a moment and then got up again. So, Winnie the Pooh is singing, but the bees were still buzzing as suspiciously as ever. We talked about the word suspicious means they think there's a problem. They think there's a trick. So that's suspicious. And they're as suspiciously as ever. Now, as blank as ever is a phrase. As blah, 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 as ever. Now, the word ever means all time. Like from the beginning to the end. All of the time. That's ever. So you can imagine, let's see, there's a chart. And let's say we say it's talking about how happy you are. Happy. And on the bottom, this is math class right now. So we have happiness and time on the bottom, if I can type. Okay? And so ever is all time, from when you were a baby to now. And your happiness goes up and down and up and down and up and down. And then maybe at the end, it's up high. And so what you can do, or what you can say is, oh, I'm as happy as ever. So that means this line, or this place, compared to the rest of your life, you're more happy. Okay? So you're as happy as ever. So like very, very, very happy. The same as or more happy than the rest of your life. I'm as happy as ever. So you're great. So the bees were suspicious as ever, meaning that they're definitely not less suspicious. They're either the same or more suspicious. Uh-oh. So they don't trust Winnie the Pooh. Some of them indeed is like definitely, for sure. Some of them for sure left their nests and flew all around the cloud. So they're Winnie the Pooh is our cloud, and the bees are flying around Winnie the Pooh, our cloud. So they flew all around the cloud as it began the second verse of this song. A verse is a part of a song. So in this song, we have two verses, which are two little parts. If you ever look at the words to a song, the lyrics to a song, you might see verse and chorus. The verse is the story part of a song. The chorus is the part of the song that's the same and everybody sings loudly. So, verse and chorus. So, in this song, Winnie the Pooh just has two verses, two little parts of the story. Each one's a little bit different. But in a pop song, there's usually a chorus too. And the chorus is the fun, exciting part. Okay? So, back to the story. The bees flew around the cloud as it began the second verse of this song. So when he began singing this part, the bees are flying around him. One bee sat down on the nose of the cloud for a moment and then got up again. Bzz. Okay? So on Winnie the Pooh's nose, but in the story it's calling him the cloud. And then what happened? Christopher, Robin called out the cloud. So what happened? The bee stung his nose. Poof. So a bee can sting you. The bee can sting you. Past tense is stung. So the bee stung Winnie the Pooh's nose. So Christopher, Robin called out the cloud. Yes, I have just been thinking, and I have come to a very important decision. These are the wrong sort of bees. So Winnie the Pooh thinks these are the wrong kind of bees. I think we talked about that before. The word sort of is the same as kind of or type of bees. It's like, wait, what? They're the wrong kind of bees? Are they? What are you talking about? Quite the wrong sort. So I should think they would make the wrong sort of honey, shouldn't they? Or shouldn't you? So quite the wrong sort. Here the word quite, he's using it like definitely. Or really, they're really the wrong kind. So he's sure. Yeah. Winnie the Pooh is deciding these aren't the right kind of bees. Why do you think he's deciding that? Well, he got stung by a bee. Ouch! And so now he's making an excuse why he doesn't want to go get their honey. Oh, it's not that I don't want to get their honey. It's that they're the wrong kind of bees. And so, quite the wrong sort. So, definitely the wrong kind of bee. So, I should think they would make the wrong sort of honey. Shouldn't you? So, they're the wrong kind of bee. So, it's probably the wrong kind of honey. And then Christopher Robin says, would they? Yes, so I think I shall come down. So we said before that shall can mean should or will. If it's I shall, it might be I will, like here. Here it's kind of like should too. I should come down, I will come down. Both are kind of okay. But in American English, we don't say shall, so don't worry about it. Just use the one you're comfortable with. Okay, I think I shall come down. How? Asked you. How is Winnie the Pooh going to get down from this balloon? Winnie the Pooh hadn't thought about this. If he let go of the string, he would fall. Bump. And he didn't like the idea of that. So he thought for a long time, and then he said, Christopher Robin, you must shoot the balloon with your gun. Have you got your gun? So Winnie the Pooh hadn't thought about this. Remember we talked about timeline. If this yellow line is now, this X is when we're telling the story, and this purple X is before that. So Christopher, in the red X, Christopher Robin says, how are you going to get down? Before that is the purple one, so we can use past perfect tense, which is he hadn't thought about this before Christopher asked the question. So the red line is asked how. The purple line is hadn't thought. So it's kind of a funny thing. He didn't do it before the question. So he hadn't thought about this question before you asked it. Okay. So if he let go of the string, To let go means stop holding it. He would fall. Bump. And he didn't like the idea of that. Remember, bump is just the sound of falling. Bump. And he thought for a long time and then said, Christopher Robin, you must shoot the balloon with your gun. This is kind of scary, right? Have you got your gun? So this is, again, sort of a British way of speaking. In American English, we wouldn't say, have you got? Maybe, but usually we'd say, do you have? Do you have your gun? So that's the same meaning. I'm trying to move these words. There we go. So do you have your gun? Have you got your gun? So American English style, or modern American English, we'd say, do you have? And Christopher Robin says, of course I have. Of course rewind just to make it clear. Have you got your gun? Of course I have, you said. But if I do that, it will spoil the balloon, you said. Now, the question in the book is, have you got? And so Christopher Robin says, yes, I have. In modern American English, we wouldn't say that. We'd ask the question, do you have your gun? And so Christopher Robin would say, yes, I do. Because when someone asks you a question, you answer with the same question words. Do you have your gun? Yes, I do. Okay? But anyways, Christopher Robin says, of course I have, you said. But if I do that, it will spoil the balloon. Spoil here, he means ruin or destroy. It will destroy the balloon. It will ruin the balloon. Okay? He uses the word spoil, but we usually use the word spoil for food. If your food is too old, it can spoil. So like if you put food on the table and forget about it, tomorrow that food is not okay to eat. It's spoiled. Okay? But here he just means ruin. If he shoots the balloon, it will ruin the balloon. So if I do that, it will spoil the balloon, you said. But if you don't, said Pooh, I shall have to let go, and that would spoil me. So if you don't, meaning if you don't shoot the balloon, I shall have to let go. So Winnie-the-Pooh will have to let go of the balloon, and that would spoil me. He means that if he lets go of the balloon and falls, he will be destroyed. He'll be hurt. And so he's kind of making a joke. So if you ruin the balloon, that's okay. But if you don't, then I will be destroyed. And so when he put it like this, you saw how it was. And you aimed very carefully at the balloon and fired. So when he put it like this, here, put is usually you put something down. But if we're talking about, if someone says something, to put it a certain way means to say it a certain way. Oops. So when he put it like this means when he said it like this. So when he said it this way, oh, ruin the balloon or I'll be ruined. So when he put it like this, you saw how it was. You saw how it was, meaning you understood what he was saying. You saw what he was saying. So you aimed very carefully. To aim means to try to hit something, meaning hold the gun, to aim. You can use this for a lot of things. You aim a gun, you aim a bow and arrow. You can aim your camera at someone, okay? And fired. So you aimed at the balloon and fired. You shot the gun. Pew! Ow! Said Pooh. Oh no, Christopher Robin just shot Pooh with a gun. This kind of shows that it's a very old story, right? If this book came out now, I don't think they would let the boy shoot his pet, or his bear. So, ow, said Pooh. Did I miss? You asked. You didn't exactly miss, said Pooh, but you missed the balloon. So, Christopher Robin was trying to shoot the balloon, but he shot Winnie-the-Pooh. Oh my God. Crazy, right? For a children's story, guns and stuff. Let's move the picture. Send back. So here's Christopher Robin with a gun and poor Winnie-the-Pooh. Oh my God. Okay. So, did I miss? You asked. You didn't exactly miss, but you missed the balloon. So you didn't miss the balloon, or you missed the balloon, but you didn't miss Winnie-the-Pooh. I'm so sorry, you said, and you fired again. And this time, you hit the balloon, and the air came slowly out. So the balloon slowly gets smaller, and Winnie-the-Pooh comes down. The air slowly came slowly out, and Winnie-the-Pooh floated down to the ground. But his arms were so stiff from holding on to the string of the balloon all that time that they stayed up straight in the air for more than a week. And whenever a fly came and settled on his nose, he had to blow it off. And I think, but I am not sure, that is why he was always called Pooh. Okay. So Christopher Robin shoots the balloon. The balloon lets the air out. And it slowly comes down, so Winnie-the-Pooh gets to the ground safely. He didn't fall and go bump. But his arms were so stiff. If something is stiff, this is usually talking about your arms or your legs or maybe your back. Your muscles feel really tight and they're hard to move. So Winnie-the-Pooh was holding the string for a long time. And if you keep your arms like this for a long time, they get stiff, meaning they are tight. They don't move. Ooh. And so what happened to Winnie-the-Pooh? His arms are stuck up. So his arms were so stiff, not moving, from holding on to the string of the balloon all that time, that they stayed up straight in the air for more than a week. So Winnie-the-Pooh's arms were straight up for more than a week. Oh my God. And whenever is any time. Any time. Can you see that? No, I'll put it down here. So anytime a fly came, a fly is that black bug. So whenever a fly came and settled on his nose, to settle means to kind of like set, or here means land. But settle means like go down. So if something is falling down and then it goes down to the bottom and stops, that's it settled. Kind of like, let's say you have some water. If you put sugar in the water, the sugar will slowly settle to the bottom. And then it stops at the bottom. So a fly came and settled on his nose. Well, whenever a fly came and settled on his nose, anytime that happened, he had to blow it off. He can't hit it off because his arms are stuck. They're stiff. So he had to blow it off. And I think, but I'm not sure, that is why he was always called Pooh. So if a fly came on his nose and he had to blow it off, Pooh, maybe when he blows, he makes that sound. And that's where he got the name. Pooh, Pooh. So Winnie the Pooh. And so what happened? Did Winnie get his honey? No, too bad. And so then we go back to the father telling the story to Christopher Robin. Is that the end of the story? Asked Christopher Robin. That's the end of that one. There are others. So that was the end of the first story. That's the end of that one. So that's the end of the first Winnie the Pooh story. Christopher Robin shoots the balloon. Winnie the Pooh comes down, but too bad he didn't get any honey. So that's the end of that one. That's the end of that story. There are others, meaning there are other stories. Later in the book, there are different stories of Winnie the Pooh. And there are others. About Pooh and Me, meaning about Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin, and Piglet and Rabbit, and all of you. Don't you remember? So Piglet is a cute little pig that's in the stories, and Rabbit, I think, is a mama rabbit, and all of you, meaning all of the other friends. Don't you remember? Now the father is telling a story to Christopher Robin, but he's pretending that it's what happened to Christopher Robin before. So he's playing and having fun and saying, don't you remember what happened back then? And so, don't you remember? Christopher Robin says, I do remember. And then when I try to remember, I forget. So Christopher Robin is pretending he knows all of the stories. Like it's a memory, not a story. And the father continues. That day, when Pooh and Piglet tried to catch the heffalump. A heffalump is not a real thing, so don't worry. It's a pretend creature in Winnie the Pooh, the story. So, one story. That day when Pooh and Piglet tried to catch the heffalump. They didn't catch it, did they? So, this is another way to ask, did they catch it? So you can make a statement, say what you think is what happened. They didn't catch it. And then you ask the opposite, did they? To check if you're right. So they didn't catch it, did they? That means Christopher Robin thinks they didn't catch it. And then he asks to double check and find out, is he right? Another example of this would be like, if I'm talking to you and we're chatting and I might say like, you aren't busy today, are you? So we're chatting for a long time and I want to make sure you don't have other things you need to do. So you aren't busy, are you? So that means you're talking to me, you're chatting with me. And so I think you aren't busy. But then I ask the opposite, are you? To make sure that I'm right. So you could say, are you busy? But this way is very common too. You aren't busy, are you? Another example, like let's say I want to go see a movie and I think you want to go with me. I might say, you want to go to the movie, don't you? So this is a way to ask, do you want to go to the movie? But I start with what I think is true. You want to go to the movie, don't you? Okay? So you make a prediction and then you ask a question to double check. I think you've probably learned this before. So, another story is that day when Pooh and Piglet tried to catch the heffalump. They didn't catch it, did they? No. Pooh couldn't because he hasn't any brain. Did I catch it? So Pooh couldn't catch the heffalump because he hasn't any brain. Now, again, this is an old way of writing. Maybe it's British, but Americans don't say this. He doesn't have any brain. So Christopher Robin is saying Pooh is not very smart. Pooh couldn't catch the heffalump because he doesn't have any brain. He's not smart. Did I catch it? Well, that comes into the story. That comes into the story. Comes into means that is part of. So the father doesn't want to answer the question because that's part of the story. You can wait for the answer. Did I catch it? Well, that comes into the story. Well, that is part of the story. I'll tell you the story later so you can find out. Christopher Robin nodded. To nod is move your head up and down. Oh, okay. So he says, yes, okay. I will wait till I hear the next story. Then Christopher Robin says, oh, I do remember, he said. Only Pooh doesn't very well. So that's why he likes having it told to him again. So again, Christopher Robin is pretending he knows all the stories because he's pretending that the stories are part of his life. Okay? So he says, I do remember. Only Pooh doesn't very well. Doesn't what? Only Pooh doesn't remember very well. So because he said remember before, you don't need to say it again. Pooh doesn't very well, meaning Pooh doesn't remember very well. So that's why he likes having it told to him again. So he likes having the story told to him again. Because then it's a real story and not just a remembering. So it's okay that Pooh doesn't remember very well, because then it's a real story and not just a remembering. It's nice to hear the story if you don't remember because it feels like it's new. If you remember, then why are you telling me? It's less interesting. I'm just remembering what happened. Okay. That's just how I feel, I said. So the father feels that way too. Christopher Robin gave a deep sigh, picked his bear up by the leg, and walked off to the door, trailing Pooh behind him. At the door, he turned and said, "Coming to see me have my bath?" So Christopher Robin gave a deep sigh. A sigh is that kind of sound. It could be that you're tired, or maybe you're satisfied and happy, or maybe you're annoyed. How do you think Christopher Robin feels here? I think Christopher Robin is maybe a little bit happy and relaxed, but also a little bit tired because it's bedtime. So Christopher Robin gave a deep sigh, picked up his bear by the leg, and walked off to the door. Walked away to the door, trailing Pooh behind him. Trailing Pooh behind him means dragging Pooh. Christopher Robin is walking, holding Pooh's leg, and Pooh's on the ground like this, behind Christopher Robin. At the door, he turned and said, "Coming to see me have my bath?" So, "Father, are you going to come to the bath with me?" "I might," I said. So maybe the father will go watch Christopher Robin when he's taking a bath. Which is kind of a nice thing for a dad and son to do. Let's see, I'll make this a little smaller so we can fit. And then Christopher Robin asks a question. "I didn't hurt him when I shot him, did I?" So, remember, Christopher Robin shot Winnie the Pooh with a gun. Oh my God. "I didn't hurt him when I shot him, did I?" This is that kind of question again. He says what he thinks is true, and then he asks a question at the end to check. "I didn't hurt him when I shot him, did I?" Not a bit. Not a bit means not at all. Totally no. Winnie the Pooh was totally okay, not hurt at all. Then Christopher Robin. He nodded and went out. And in a moment, I heard Winnie the Pooh, bump, 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 going up the stairs behind him. So Christopher Robin nodded, walked out the door, and in a moment, meaning in a short time, in a second, I heard Winnie the Pooh bump, 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 going up the stairs behind him. Now, this is what we saw at the very beginning of the story. Christopher Robin is walking down the stairs, bump, 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 with Winnie the Pooh hitting the stairs. Now, Christopher Robin is going up stairs to go to take a bath and go to sleep, and Winnie the Pooh is hitting the stairs going up, bump, bump, bump. And the end. That's the end of chapter 1 of this story. Whew. Kind of a long thing, right? Or, well, when we read it piece by piece, it is kind of long, right? But it's a really cute story. And in the end, Winnie the Pooh didn't get the honey, but that's okay. They had a fun little adventure. Christopher Robin tried to help him, but in the end, Winnie the Pooh got stung by a bee. Pooh! Ow! And so he said, I changed my mind. These are the wrong kinds of bees. I think he was just scared of getting stung by the bees. So Christopher Robin shot the balloon, so Winnie the Pooh came down. And then his arms were stiff and they were stuck. And so if a bug landed on his nose, he would have to blow it off. Pooh, pooh. And maybe that's where he got his name. So Winnie the Pooh, because Winnie goes pooh, pooh, blowing bugs off of his nose. Kind of a cute story, right? So I hope you enjoyed this story. This is the end of chapter 1 of Winnie the Pooh. There are a lot more stories. I'm not sure if we will do another one, but if you liked this and really want to, maybe we could. But before we do that, before we say goodbye for today, let's reread the part of Winnie the Pooh that we read today. So we talked about it slowly, piece by piece. Now we'll read normal speed to try to remember what we learned and practice some of the words we learned. Okay? So rewind. Christopher Robin went home to get his umbrella. Winnie the Pooh is still holding the balloon in the sky. And so Christopher Robin comes back. Are you ready? Here we go. "Oh, there you are," called down Winnie the Pooh, as soon as you got back to the tree. I was beginning to get anxious. I have discovered that the bees are now definitely suspicious. Shall I put my umbrella up? You said. Yes, but wait a moment. We must be practical. The important bee to deceive is the queen bee. Can you see which is the queen bee from down there? No. Ugh, a pity. Well, now, if you walk up and down with your umbrella saying, "Tut, tut, it looks like rain," I shall do what I can by singing a little cloud song, such as a cloud might sing. Go! So, while you walked up and down and wondered if it would rain, Winnie-the-Pooh sang this song. How sweet to be a cloud, floating in the blue. Every little cloud always sings aloud. How sweet to be a cloud, floating in the blue. It makes him very proud to be a little cloud. The bees were still buzzing, as suspiciously as ever. Some of them, indeed, left their nests and flew all around the cloud as it began the second verse of this song. Zzz. And one bee sat down on the nose of the cloud for a moment and then got up again. Zzz. Christopher, oh, Robin, called out the cloud. Yes? I have just been thinking, and I have come to a very important decision. Excuse me, this voice is hurting me. I have just been thinking, and I have come to a very important decision. These are the wrong sort of bees. Are they? Quite the wrong sort. Should I think they would make... Excuse me. Whew. Winnie-the-Pooh's voice is hurting me. So, these are the wrong sort of bees. Are they? Quite the wrong sort. So, I should think they would make the wrong sort of honey, shouldn't you? Would they? Yes. So I think I shall come down. How? Asked you. Winnie-the-Pooh hadn't thought about this. If he let go of the string, he would fall. Bump! And he didn't like the idea of that. So he thought for a long time, and then he said, Christopher Robin, you must shoot the balloon with your gun. Have you got your gun? Of course I have, you said. But if I do that, it will spoil the balloon, you said. But if you don't, said Pooh, I shall have to let go, and that would spoil me. When he put it like this, you saw how it was, and you aimed very carefully at the balloon and fired. Pew! Ow! Said Pooh. Did I miss? You asked. You didn't exactly miss, said Pooh, but you missed the balloon. I'm so sorry, you said, and you fired again. Pew! And this time, you hit the balloon, and the air came slowly out. Psst. And Winnie-the-Pooh floated down to the ground. But his arms were so stiff from holding onto the string of the balloon all that time that they stayed up straight in the air for more than a week. And whenever a fly came and settled on his nose, he had to blow it off. And I think, but I am not sure, that is why he was always called Pooh. Pooh. Is that the end of the story? Asked Christopher Robin. That's the end of that one. There are others. About Pooh and me? And Piglet and Rabbit and all of you. Don't you remember? I do remember. And then when I try to remember, I forget. That day when Pooh and Piglet tried to catch the heffalump. They didn't catch it, did they? No. Pooh couldn't because he hasn't any brain. Did I catch it? Well, that comes into the story. Christopher Robin nodded. I do remember, he said. Only Pooh doesn't very well. So that's why he likes having it told to him again. Because then it's a real story and not just a remembering. That's just how I feel, I said. Christopher Robin gave a deep sigh, picked his bear up by the leg, and walked off to the door, trailing Pooh behind him. At the door, he turned and said, "Coming to see me have my bath?" "I might," I said. "I didn't hurt him when I shot him, did I?" "Not a bit." He nodded and went out. And in a moment, I heard Winnie-the-Pooh, bump, 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 going up the stairs behind him. The end. That's the end of chapter 1, the first story about Winnie-the-Pooh from this wonderful book from 1926. Okay? So, yeah, that's the end of chapter 1. Chapter 2 and 3 and blah, blah, blah. There are many different stories about Winnie-the-Pooh. And so we're going to end here for today. But there are all those other stories. I'll put a link to this book. You can read it for free. And you can check out chapter 1, which we read together. And you can check out chapters 2 and 3 and the other stories. If you are interested in more of this book, we could try other chapters in the future. Just let me know. Leave me a comment to say if you want more Winnie-the-Pooh. I think this is fun. It's a little bit difficult, but I think there's a lot to learn. So let me know what you think. So let's end here for today. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you had a good time learning some tricky vocab and having some fun with Winnie-the-Pooh. That's it for today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining, and go get some honey, but be careful of those bees. Don't let them sting you on the nose, okay? Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.